A long time ago, in the southern part of China, a wealthy merchant had in his house an extra bedroom that members of his family rarely entered. One day his wife went up to the room for the purpose of looking for something she had mislaid. To her surprise, when she tried the door, it was locked. Peering through the keyhole, she was startled to see a strange man sitting in a chair. Jumping to her feet, she ran downstairs to fetch the servants, crying, "Thieves! Thieves!" When they returned with sticks and knives to drive the intruders off, they were stopped by the sound of a deep voice beyond the door that roared, "I am staying here with my family. We will keep the furniture, but you can have everything else back." In a flash, boxes, small chests, and other similar objects began flying out the window, thrown by unseen hands. And then the sound of many feet could be heard pattering back and forth. Next came a chorus of voices chanting, "Listen, O master of this house, we have traveled hundreds of miles to come and visit you. Will you not welcome us with refreshments?" Frightened nearly out of their wits, the lady of the house and her servants immediately set out at tables filled with food and drink. There was a great commotion, a rush of feet, a clatter of pottery and utensils. Then presently the dishes, cups, the wine jugs, and the chopsticks came crashing down to the ground floor, empty and picked clean of food. From that day on, the invisible intruders remained in the upstairs room, and though they did no more mischief, the master of the house was upset about their presence and summoned a priest to give him advice. The priest had barely arrived in the courtyard of the house when the voices from the occupied room called out angrily, "Miserable dog! How dare you come here?" And then, before anyone could lift a finger to help him, the priest was lifted roughly by unseen hands and rudely thrown into the street along with all of his magical paraphernalia. Obviously angered by the incident, the uninvited guests set up an ear-splitting clatter that went on day and night. After several weeks of this incessant racket, everyone in the household was on the verge of madness. In desperation, the merchant sent for the celestial master, whose headquarters was many miles away. He immediately set forth his highest-ranking deputy to look into the matter, but the moment the deputy entered the courtyard of the haunted house, the invisible voices cried out, "Celestial Master, you are helpless. As for you, Deputy Master, you have come here in vain." And with that he raised into the air and dashed the ground again. When he picked himself up, his clothes were torn and his face was scratched. "Alas," he said, brushing himself off, "these evil spirits do too much for me. Only the Celestial Master himself has the power to deal with them." So the Celestial Master came. There was great apprehension in the hearts of the household when he arrived, for he had traveled a great distance. But when he entered the courtyard, there was no voices to deride him, and everyone regarded this as a good sign. Immediately he set to work erecting altars and hanging up charms, after which he lit incense and began chanting incantations. Suddenly there was a clap of thunder. Clouds above grew dark and rolled about ominously. Then they parted in a flash of red light, and a gnarled old man with a white beard descended from above on a thunderbolt and roared, "Fear not, my children, for I shall counteract his spells." While these awesome things were happening, the Celestial Master was juggling a large bowl. As he released it, it rolled along the floor, spinning like a top. Then in a series of astonishing leaps, it bounded up the stairs. "When it gets up to the second floor," he declared triumphantly, "this spell will take effect." But just as it approached the haunted room, the mysterious spirited spirit from the clouds struck a great copper gong, and the Celestial Master's bowl fell to the ground. Try as he might, the deputy could not move it. He sighed deeply, shook his head, and said, "It is no use. I must give up." As he gathered up his magical paraphernalia, the invisible voices hooted, laughed, cackled, and jeered, keeping up the commotion until long after he had gone. Discouraged beyond all hope, the merchant and his household gave up and resigned themselves to living with the rest of their lives with the troublesome spirits. Then one day during the winter following the Celestial Master's failure at exorcism, a party of hunters appeared at the house in the wake of an exceptionally heavy snowfall. It was nearly dusk and the winds were howling like disembodied spirits. When they asked if they could have shelter for the night, the merchant welcomed them, taking care, however, to warn them not to go near the haunted room. When he had finished telling them about it, to his amazement they laughed, saying, "Yes, we know all about such things, honored sir. You were haunted by fox spirits, but don't worry. After we have eaten and drunk, we will take care of them once and for all." After enjoying a long and lavish meal, the hunters took up their guns and gathered beneath the windows of the haunted room. Then with yells, curses, and shouts, they began firing into the air until the area was shrouded with smoke. Although all had been quiet during the night, the merchant was filled with apprehension in the morning when he bade the hunters farewell. Now, he thought, out of anger and vengeance, the foxes will treat us more spitefully than ever. But he was wrong, for when he looked up, the windows of the room were all open, the door was unlocked too, and the room was completely empty, except for a fox hair that littered the floor and a strong zoo-like smell.